Hey guys, how's it going? Today we are going to go over how to play a blues and open E. So it's something that's really not all that complicated, although it is intimidating at first. But let's start off with this lesson's going to be in 4 different levels, by the way. So the first level is going to be using triads. The second level is going to be using dominant 7 chords. The next level is going to be using 9 chords, and then the last level is going to be 13 chords. So let's start with a triad. And for today's lesson, we're going to be in the key of G. So what is the key of G? So if we're referring to the major key of G, it would be G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. So if we were building a triad off of that, it would be G, a third away from G, so G, A, B, and then a third away from that in the scale, B, C, D, and that would give us our G major triad. So we have our root, G, our third, B, and our fifth, D. And I'm just playing that by barring at the 3rd fret using my index finger. And to get the basic triad, you just actually need to bar strings 2, 3, and 4. So again, that's root, 3rd, 5th. And a common way you can play this chord in open E is just by barring the entire 3rd fret, because the entire chord itself, the entire tuning itself is based off of a triad. So in the key of G, a blues at its most basic form is comprised of the 1, 4, and 5 chords. So if we're thinking of the key of G again, it would be G, A, B, C would be our 4th. So in terms of frets on the guitar, it would always be 5 frets away from wherever a root is. So our root is at the 3rd fret, and then 5, if we go up 5 frets from that, it's going to be our 4 chord C. If we go up 2 frets from that, so G, A, B, C, D, our 5 chord, that would be our triad D, which is 7 frets away from the root if we're using the same shape, or 2 frets away from our 4 chord. So G at the 3rd fret, C at the 4th fret, and then D at the 5th fret. And let's actually take a moment to examine C and D before we move forward those triads. So if we were taking the notes from the G major scale, so we're only using notes from the G major scale. So again, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and we start from the root. C, we just build that chord in thirds using the scale. So C, D, E. So E would be our 3rd. So you don't want to just think of shapes on the guitar. You actually want to think of the notes and intervals. So we have our root C at the 8th fret, E at the 8th fret as well, and then we go a third away from that, so we're at C, D, E. So a third away from that would be F, G. So G also at our 8th fret. So we have C, and then D would be our root D. So starting on D in the G major scale. So D, a third away from that, E, F sharp on the 3rd string, and then a third away from that, so F sharp, G, A. So A would be our 5th in this case. So D, root, F sharp, 3rd, A, 5th. So those are our 3 basic triad chords for our 1, 4, and 5. Now I'm going to go through a 12-bar blues just using those chords. I'm just going to go through its most basic form. And today I'm going to just play it in a Freddie Green style just because that's the style I've been working on lately. So it's just using quarter notes with a slight emphasis on 2 and 4. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so I'm pretty plain when it comes down to it. Not that there's anything wrong with, you know, playing your chords plain sometimes, but, you know, in terms of harmonic structure, there's not really too much to it. We're just playing basic triads. So the next step from that is our 4-part chords, which are also referred to as our 7 chords. So a 7 chord is built with a third, some type of third away from our 5th. So in this case, if we're using G, so we've established G, B, and D as our notes. 1, 3, 5 would be the intervals. So if we're going through the G major scale, we'd go through D, E, F sharp. So that would be our 7th right there. But the only thing is, in blues, we actually use dominant 7s or flat 7s. So instead of an F sharp, we would lower that by 1 half tone or 1 fret in guitar speak anyways, to a F natural. So the spelling of our chord is G, B, D, F, or the intervals, intervals, root, 3rd, 5th, flat 7. So that would be how it was built if you did on all adjacent strings on strings 1, 2, 3, and 4, just keeping the intervals. But the only problem is the shape on guitar is not really the friendliest in the open E. So with this shape, hold on, I'm just going to adjust. There we go. With this shape anyways, or with this voicing, or chord, we're going to play this voicing. So this is a much more common voicing that you'll hear. And it's our 6th string on our root. And all the chords I'm going to show you today are going to have our root on the bottom, 6th string. So we have our root G on the 3rd fret of the 6th string. We're muting the 5th string with our middle finger. Playing the 4th string at the 1st fret. So that's our note F, or our flat 7. And then B on our 3rd string, 3rd fret. So that's our major 3rd. And then our 5th on our 2nd string, 3rd fret. And our 5th is actually optional in most cases. It's actually the least important chord tone in a chord, the next being the root. But today I just wanted to show you all root position chords just because those are good for just about any context. And they're the most basic. And you know, if you were in a situation where you were accompanying a singer, you tend to want to play mostly root position chords just so you can fill up the sound you normally would if you were playing with a band. So, but the 5th you can eliminate. That it doesn't matter. You can keep it, or you can add it. That's what it sounds like without it. And that's what it sounds like with it. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing, playing the same type of 12 bar, but with 7th chords instead. And it's going to be the same premise. We're going to be moving up our shapes with the root at the 8th fret and then 10th fret, just keeping the same shape though. So I'm going to do another 12 bar using 7th chords. I'll play the entire 4-part chord so you can hear that. But so 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so just a little bit more flavor to it, just a little bit more complex voicing. So the next step from that is what's called a 9-chord. So since the musical intervals run out at 7, technically, a 9 would be a second an octave up. So if we're thinking 1 would be the root, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 7 would be our last note, 8 would be the root, starting over, 9 would be your second. But the idea is it's used as a higher note in the chord. So a voicing we can use for that is using our middle finger at the 3rd fret. I mean, it's going to be basically the same thing, 3rd fret on the 6th string, muting the 5th string, 1st fret on our 4th string. Then we're actually going to bar both our 3rd and 2nd string. So we have our notes B and D, our major 3rd and 5th. And then we're going to add our 9 on top. So, which would be a natural in this case. So G, A, B, C, D, E, F, sharp, G, A. So now the spelling of the chord is G, B, D, F, A. So here's what it sounds like using all the chords in a 12 bar. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, just a little bit more color, a little bit more flavor. The only difference is just adding one more note. And just to be clear that the 9s on both our 4 and 5 chords are D for our 4 chord C, and then E for our 5 chord D. So they're just all what's called 9 chords. So the next step up from that would be 13. Some of you might ask why I'm not going over 11. It's just because 11 itself is a pretty unstable tension. And you can use it, but it's not as common as using a 13. It's much more common to go 9, 7, 9, 13 as our upper notes. So let's go over 13 chords. So what they are in this case is we're playing the same shape as before. We don't have to bar our ring finger, and you'll see why in a second. And then we're, with our pinky, playing the 5th fret on the 2nd string. And that's going to be our 13. So if we're going through the scale again, G, A, B, C, D, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E. So 13 notes through, it would be E. So that's where that comes from. And you can also bar the 5th fret on the 1st string and 2nd string using the pinky as well to keep that 9 there. So, but for this purpose, I'm actually just going to play the straight 13 chords just so you can hear that 13 as the top note. And for our 4 and 5 chords, A would be the 13, going through the same G major scale. The those are the notes we're choosing from, but just starting with C as our root, and then D. For our D chord, it would be D as our 13. So if you go up 13 notes from D, D being 1, and using the G major scale, you would end up on B as our 13th note. So here's what it'd sound like going through the 12 bar using 13 chords. So let me readjust my camera. There we go. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so that's the 4 different levels: triads, 7 chords, 9 chords, and 13 chords. And that's just all using our root as the bottom note and on the 6th string in this case. So you can use those chords in any blues context using dominant 7 chords. But anyways, I hope you guys found that helpful. So like any other video, please like, share, subscribe, comment on it. All this really helps my channel, and it not only helps my channel get found and more likes, it lets me know what type of content you guys like, so I can release similar content in the future. But anyways, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys again in the future.